Hey, what's up, everybody? John Manson, the Sea of Red here, with another update. As we now move into the summer, college athletic season's all but done. Liberty's track and field has several athletes still competing, currently in the regional round of the NCAA's, and a few that are going to be qualifying and moving on to nationals, and we'll continue to follow those. But with softball's loss, the team events have come to an end, so it's kind of got our eyes and focus has kind of moved to the college football season. And, as we're about to move into June, which is hard to believe, we're roughly 3 months away from the start of the college football season. A little bit less than that, with it getting underway, late August this season. So we're going to kind of go through Liberty's football schedule. You got TV times, or TV and times announced for 11 of the 12 games, or 10 of the 12 games, I think it is. As far as TV goes, times for 11 of them this week. So that was just announced, and we're going to kind of go through the schedule and break it down in chunks, game by game, and talk about some expectations we should have for the Flames this season. First of all, if you look in Vegas, the odds, Liberty's expected, their over-under season win total is 8.5 games. So basically Vegas is saying Liberty's going to win somewhere around 8 or 9 games. Bill Connolly's ESPN SP Plus projections has Liberty winning, 9.2 games. So basically 9 games. So coming off an 8-4 season, which was an 8-3 regular season after having that App State game canceled. Liberty won 8 games last year. Seems like even with a lot of key losses to either graduation or in the portal, a lot of people are expecting the Flames to have at least a similar season last year, maybe be more competitive in conference play. I don't think you'll find anyone out there not picking the Flames to likely be the favorite, if not at least at the top of the preseason projections for the conference championship game in Conference USA. So obviously a lot of question marks for the team, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. With you're gonna have a new quarterback, your top running backs from the last couple of seasons are gone, so it's gonna be a new look offense under this staff, led by Jamey Chadwell and obviously offensive coordinator Willie Korn. It's gonna be the first time that those two have not had Caden Salter at quarterback for the Flames, and then first time without Quentin Cooley at running back, as well as Billy Lucas, the top 2 running backs the last couple of years. And then you obviously have question marks on the offensive line and at wide receiver as well too. So a lot of question marks, and it's understandable that the public perception is kind of expecting an 8 or 9 win season. So should we expect that? That's what we're going to kind of talk about and go through. So anyways, season start, well, I'll just run through it real quick. Liberty opens up August 30th against Maine, September 6th at Jack State, Conference USA opener, September 13th at Bowling Green, September 20th back at home against James Madison, 27th at ODU. Then we switch to October midweek games. Liberty only has 2 games in October, at UTEP on the 8th, and the 14th at home against New Mexico State. Then there's 5 games in November. The 1st against Delaware, the 8th against Missouri State, the 15th at FIU, 22nd at Louisiana Tech, regular season finale at home against Kennesaw State on the 29th. So, you look at those first 3 games, you open up with Maine, then you're at Jack State and at Bowling Green. Obviously, it would be great to get out of this, the opening blocks at 3-0. Anything less than 2-1 would be a grave disappointment. But Liberty opens up with an FCS opponent. The Flames are 9-0 against FCS teams since moving to the FBS, and that includes a win over Maine back in 2019 under former head coach Hugh Freeze. Maine was 5-7 last year, 3-5 in CAA play, playing the same conference that Campbell plays in, who Liberty played last year, and beat them 41-24. So Should be a comfortable win to open up the season. And then, week 2, you're gonna, it's Jack State. You travel down to Alabama, and it's the two teams that have won the last 2 Conference USA championships. And obviously, the Gamecocks came into Lynchburg and beat the Flames last year, and it's going to be a lot of question marks for both teams going into that game. Jack State's got a new head coach, and Charles Kelly, as Rich Rod has left and gone back to West Virginia, and they got a lot of new faces, and on both sides of the ball. And Kelly's a completely different coach than Rich Rod. He's a defensive guy. He was at Auburn last year with Hugh Freeze as the co-DC, and he's this is his first head coaching stop, so we have no idea what to expect out of him. He's been a defense assistant at some of the top places in the country: Colorado, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida State, Auburn, and now he's taken over his first time as a head coach at Jack State. So it'll be interesting to see what they look like under him, especially early in the season. So that's a game. Whoever wins that game is going to be coming out of that early September looking like they're in great shape for Conference USA championship contention. The loser's not eliminated, obviously, but with 12 teams in the league now and not playing a balanced schedule, it's going to be hard to make it to the conference championship game with much more than 2 losses in conference play. So that's going to be an interesting game there. Then Liberty heads to Bowling Green, Ohio, to take on the Falcons, and also a new head coach there. Eddie George took over kind of late in the spring. In March he took over, and former All-Pro and Heisman Trophy winner at Ohio State. So I'm sure there's a lot of anticipation around Eddie George taking over in Bowling Green, and Bowling Green. This is a team that's made it to 3 straight bowl games, so it's not going to be an easy win for the Flames on the road. With the question marks we talked about that Liberty had, but that's certainly a game that you think you can win and probably should win. Liberty will be favored going into that one, should be, depending on how the first 2 weeks of the season goes. If you can get out of those first 3 games at 3-0, you're feeling really good about the season. But that Jack State game is obviously the most important. That's what Liberty's competing for this year, is Conference USA championship. And talking about the CFP and things like that after last year, feels like we shouldn't even be mentioning trying to be the highest ranked G5 team. But take care of business against Jack State, and we'll see how the rest of September non-conference play goes. And then when we get into October, we can see where we stand. So then after that, 2 straight road games, you return home, and James Madison comes to town, and that's the most anticipated home game we've had at Liberty probably since Chadwell's been hired. Maybe the New Mexico State Conference Championship game in 2023, but there's been no, obviously, P4 teams that's come to Lynchburg for Chadwell. So we should have a really good crowd. Should be a sellout crowd. I expect JMU, obviously, to bring some fans, and I know they have fans in and around the Lynchburg area that don't even have to travel that far, and some even closer. When you're talking, not closer, but Richmond, Harrisonburg, a lot of alumni there, obviously, for the Duke. So it should be a lot of fans there. It should be a great crowd. 6 p.m. kickoff. Not sure where it's going to be, ESPN Plus or an ESPN network. But these are 2 bowl teams, 2 of the top teams in the FBS in Virginia, regardless of conference affiliation. JMU and Liberty have kind of established themselves in that, upper echelon of teams, competing at the level of a Virginia Tech or Virginia in recent seasons. And this is the first time they've played in over a decade. Haven't played since 2014. And now both teams are at the FBS level and playing for the first time at that level. And Liberty hasn't played JMU and Lynchburg since 2011. So, you're talking, 14 years since you've had this matchup in Lynchburg at Williams Stadium. Obviously, there's a lot changed for both programs since then. So that's obviously going to be a tough game, kind of a toss-up game. The winner of that one, if they win their respective conference championship and have a strong non-conference performance, that could put you in a nice position, setting yourself up to go into G5 CFP contention for the top ranked team. Obviously, margin for error is very small. Then Liberty, the week after that, travels to Norfolk, Virginia, taking on the other G5 program in the Commonwealth in ODU to round out non-conference play. And Liberty's dominated this series, since moving to FBS. So having won 4-0 in those games against them, including a win 38-10 in 2023 when Chadwell and Ricky Ronnie met up. So, we're going to have to see. The Monarchs have not had a winning season under Ronnie. They're typically winning right around 5 games every year, maybe 6 games. And, so that's kind of where they've been. So that, as Liberty, you think you should be able to go in there and get a win, but obviously ODU's got some talent and they're going to be, hoping to knock off the Flames. It was a really competitive game a couple years back down there at ODU when the Flames played there a few years back. Liberty did pull out the win, obviously, but it was a close contest. Then you move into October. It's kind of a weird schedule this year with the midweek games. Liberty only has 2 games in the entire month of October, and the 2 games are separated by just 6 days. So after the ODU game, you have a week and a half or so, almost 2 weeks to get ready for UTEP and play the Miners out in El Paso. The last time these teams might ever play, as UTEP is leaving Conference USA at the end of the season, and then you return home to play New Mexico State 6 days later. And there's extended breaks on both sides of these 2 games. So obviously, if Liberty wants to compete for a Conference USA championship, these are 2 games you really need to win, especially New Mexico State at home. That's a game that is a must win. Playing a team that's expected to not really be in the top of the conference standings under second-year head coach Tony Sanchez. They struggled a lot last year, 3-9, and I know a lot of Liberty fans. You're reminded, when you think about New Mexico State, you're reminded of the Jerry Kill New Mexico State teams of 2022 and 2023 when they made it to Conference USA championship game, and they made it to they beat the Flames in 2022, the last game under Hugh Freeze, and really embarrassed Liberty in that game. But this isn't the same program that we saw those 2 seasons. They're really struggling to find their identity and where they're at. So Liberty needs to beat the Aggies at home if they want to have the season that we expect them to have. And same can be said for UTEP. I think the Miners under second-year head coach Scotty Walden, I think you'll see them trending upwards. They were just 3-9 last season, but they made a lot of improvement late in the year. They won their last 2 conference games, won their 3 of their last 5, with the 2 losses coming by just 1 score. So this is a team trending in the right direction. If you look at recruiting rankings, they're first or second right there with Liberty, and how their recruiting classes have been under Walden each of the past 2 years. He's also had strong portal classes, so it's not going to be an easy game. UTEP obviously will have that game kind of circled on their calendar as a game to beat Liberty. I know Liberty didn't have the season we expected last season, but teams in Conference USA still look at Liberty as a team that you have to go through to get the Conference USA championship. So playing in the Sun Bowl early October, UTEP and Scotty Walden's going to have his team, the Miners, fired up to take care of business at home and beat the Flames. And if they do that, they can sit there and say, hey, we can be in the Conference USA championship race contention for that. So again, 2 games in October. Liberty really needs to take care of business in those to have this season we're kind of expecting. So then after that game, October 14th against New Mexico State, Liberty does not play again until November 1st against Delaware. So there's 2.5 weeks off, which is really weird to happen. But that's just how the schedule falls this year. And you take on Delaware team, and it's kind of like, how does Liberty come out of that, break, that layoff? Are they going to be rusty as they get ready for this 5-game stretch run in November? And, you think about Delaware. Delaware is a team that is, obviously new to FBS, new to Conference USA, but I think they're going to be right in the mix of things. You look at what Jacksonville State did in their first 2 years, and even Sam Houston. I think Delaware's coming in maybe even better than both of those 2 programs were when they entered Conference USA. I mean, they were 9-2 last year in the CAA. They've been one of the top teams in FCS for a long time, kind of a storied program with what they've done in the FCS level, and they beat Campbell. Liberty beat them 41-24 last year. Delaware beat them 41-22. So I mean, obviously comparing scores is not the perfect science, but it just kind of shows you the type of talent that's on that team, and they're a winning program. They're gonna be coming into the FBS looking to put together some wins and have a winning season. So they're going to point to several other FCS teams that have made the move. So I think they're going to win some games, and it's not going to be an easy win. Liberty should win this game. They should have the deeper, more talented roster, but it's not going to be an easy game. Then the very next week, you got the other FBS newcomer and Conference USA newcomer, Missouri State. Similarly to Delaware, Missouri State had a strong season last year. They were 8-4, 6-2 in the Missouri Valley, which is the top FCS conference in the country. 4 losses, but those losses last year: number 1 North Dakota State, number 3 South Dakota State, number 3 at the time they played them Montana, and then they lost to FBS MAC member Ball State by just 8 points. So again, this is a team. All 4 of those teams that they lost to would have been tough wins, tough games for Liberty last season. So it's not going to be an easy win. Missouri State's going to be coming in looking to win some games as well too. I think they will win some games. They've also got 10 days to prepare for the Flames as they come off their midweek time in October. So this is a game that could sneak up on the Flames. You got to be ready for the Bears. Won't be easy, but those, again, playing 2 teams that were in the FCS, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever. Actually, currently they're still in the FCS. They officially joined Conference USA July 1st. At home, I mean, you got to win those games if you're the Flames. But don't sleep on those 2 games. They're strong football teams, strong programs coming up from the FCS ranks. Then you go on the road for 2 games, FIU and Louisiana Tech, before closing out the regular season at home against Kennesaw State. FIU is kind of in a weird place, right? I mean, they've won 4 games the last 3 years, each of them under Mike McIntyre, who's no longer there. They brought in Willie Simmons. Simmons has had some strong performances as a head coach. If you look back to what he's done, he was at Florida A&M for 6 years, where he was 45-13 overall, 34-5 in conference. He's a former starting quarterback at Clemson. He was also a head coach at Prairie View A&M and had winning seasons there. So this is a guy that's won a lot in the SWAC at the FCS level, MEAC as well with Florida A&M. So he's got a winning tenure, but you kind of wonder, does he have enough talent and enough pieces at FIU to turn them around quickly? It's kind of one of those things, kind of believe it when you see it type thing with FIU and the Panthers. So, Liberty traveling to Miami. It's in November, so the game's in the evening. So you should be, I think it's a 5 p.m. kickoff. I don't think you'll have to be dealing with the sweltering heat that you could sometimes deal with in South Florida at in that time of the year, mid-November. So should be a game. Liberty's kind of, took care of FIU 2 years ago down there in Miami. Game last year went to overtime, which was a little bit of a surprise, but another game Liberty should win, should be heavy favorites. Next week's at Louisiana Tech. Liberty did not play them last year, but beat them 2 years ago in Lynchburg. Sonny Cumbie's going into his 4th year at Louisiana Tech in Ruston, coming off 3 straight losing seasons. And you kind of wonder, I would expect he's on the hot seat and coaching for his job this season. But I think the Bulldogs have a chance to put together some wins. They've got some talent on that roster. It's kind of unknown, just how good they'll be. But they do have, some of the top teams in Conference USA. The schedule's favorable for them. They got them coming home to Louisiana, including Liberty. They also got Western Kentucky at home. So if they can, protect their home field, they can, perhaps compete to be in that Conference USA championship race. And Louisiana Tech's had some talented teams in years past. Then Liberty returns home, close out the regular season. Kennesaw State. We all know what happened last year. We don't want to repeat that, obviously. Where the Owls upset the Flames, picked up their first ever FBS win, handed Liberty's first loss of the regular season under Coach Chadwell. And they finished 2-10 last year, 2-6 in conference play. Ended up firing Brian Bohannon, the only head coach they've ever known. And they hired Jerry Mack, which, if you look at Jerry Mack's resume, he's got a strong resume. He was North Carolina Central's head coach for a few years, where he was 26-6 in the MEAC. Had a winning season all 4 years, 31-15 overall. He was a running backs coach at Jacksonville Jaguars last year. And then previously was at the University of Tennessee as their running backs coach. But he has some previous experience as a head coach. It's been a few years prior to the transfer portal and NIL current era that we're in. So it's kind of like, probably a little bit of a learning curve for him. They got a lot of question marks on the offensive side of the ball. But again, if Liberty's going to take care of business and do, have the year that we expect them to have, you take care of these wins at home and you beat a Kennesaw State team who was an FCS program, 18 months ago. So, so that's kind of the schedule. And if you go through it, again, as I said at the onset, the Vegas win total is 8.5. Bill Connolly's ESPN SP Plus projections has Liberty winning like 9.2 games. So you're looking at like winning 9 games. And if you look at this schedule, and again, we can talk about the strength of the schedule and all that sort of thing, but Liberty should be favored in at least 11 of these games. On paper, going into the season, Liberty should be favored in at least 11 of the 12 games. The JMU game's a little bit of a toss-up, and we'll see where those two teams stand kind of when you get into that game. Obviously, Liberty has a lot of question marks that we don't know the answers to today, but we have to remember Coach Chadwell and his past success. He has not lost more than 3 games in a regular season in several years. You'd have to go back to his first year as a head coach at Coastal Carolina when he took over there. I think it was in either 18 or 19, since he's lost more than 3 games in regular season. Lost 3 games in regular season last year. He's had 2 undefeated regular seasons during that time, obviously in 2020 with Coastal, and then 2023 with Liberty. He's had another year where he only lost 1 game. So he has a proven track record. We know that. This schedule sets up favorably. You don't play a Western Kentucky, who should be near the top of Conference USA, at least with their talent, their coaching staff. You also don't play Middle Tennessee, who's another team, their second year under their head coach, that should be making some improvements. So, I'm not going to sit here and say Liberty should go undefeated or even should win 11 games. I don't think that's a realistic expectation, but minimum of 9 wins should be the expectation. And really, a 10-win season, regular season, should be a realistic expectation, and get back to that Conference USA championship game. Obviously, that JMU game is going to be a key swing game. I think the Jack State game in week 2 is going to be pivotal. It's going to be hot. The game kicks off at noon Eastern down in Jacksonville, Alabama, in the first week of September. It's going to be hot. So both teams are going to have to be dealing with that. But early in the season, with both teams with new quarterbacks and new pieces, Jack State with a new head coach. So Liberty should be further along than the Gamecocks, but that's another key game, and it could be a swing game in the season. And then, you look at some of these other games, you never know. Like in this Conference USA race, you never know. I mean, you look back even to the 2023 season when Liberty went 13-0. You had a game against a Sam Houston team, which wasn't very good if you look at their record at the end of the year. But that game came down to the last play. Liberty could have won or lost, get that game. Last year against FIU, going into overtime. Last year against Kennesaw State, losing that game. So, you could win or lose any game on the schedule. I think that's fair to say. But I think getting to 10 wins should be a really realistic expectation. And we'll just have to see. Lots of questions for Coach Chadwell and the Flames. I think they'll be energized coming off of last season to kind of prove the naysayers wrong, prove their skeptics wrong, the doubters wrong. So I'm really looking forward to this upcoming season. And, we'll continue our preseason coverage even though we're 3 months out. We're already starting to preview and look ahead to 2025 in the fall, and hope to see many of you on the mountain cheering on the Flames.